Okay, so before I talk about the difference between evaluation, assessment and testing, it's really a good idea to note that all three have got something in common, which is about gathering evidence for decision making. So to start off by looking at, in more detail, at assessment and testing, although these terms are often used interchangeably, particularly in kind of casual talk, there's actually some very clear distinctions in that testing describes a very specific activity, a specific event that's going to be time bound. A test will be structured and it will have been designed to target a specific construct of language ability. The test may be validated, standardized, all of these different, very precise kind of aspects of test design come into bringing this like situation about in which the learner or the student or the candidate is going to provide some form of evidence. Now, a test itself can be thought of as situated as part of assessment. So assessment itself is a broader term which may encompass a number of different things that wouldn't be defined as tests. And I'm going to pass over to Carolyn to talk about some of those.
Okay, thanks, Karen. So, yeah, an assessment it can be a test. One element of assessment is a test, but we can have all sorts of different assessments. We might have essays or presentations. We could have projects. We might ask our students to write journal entries or keep a learning diary. But we can also assess our students through observation, so watching, for example, how well they interact with their peers or how well they contribute in class. Or we might have a combination of all of those things that forms our basis for assessment. So we might have, at the end of the semester, a grade based on, for example, a test or two tests and several tasks that they've done in class, participation in class. All of these different elements count towards assessment. And we need to remember, of course, that assessment can be formative or summative. So formative assessment is about feeding into learning. Summative assessment is about measuring how much the students have learned or what they've achieved. And now the other question was about evaluation. Karen, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
So evaluation is more likely to be applied at a programme level rather than at a student level, and it does have something in common with assessment, this kind of idea that Carolyn was talking about with gathering evidence from lots of different sources. So, for example, you might look at learner feedback, learner reactions to a programme, but many other different aspects as well. And really, it is giving a chance to be reflective and to look at how something can be improved. So it's almost like a slightly more circular idea that you've got with evaluation. And Carolyn's going to elaborate a bit more specifically on some of those ideas.
Yeah, so we can think about evaluation sort of coming back towards the teacher, possibly from the students. So as Karen mentioned, you might have learner feedback that you take into account. You would take into account the results of student assessments or tests. And basically, it's then up to the teacher or their superiors, possibly, to reflect on how well the programme is working. So if the students have done really badly, then there could be a number of reasons for that. Perhaps the test was too difficult, perhaps it was a bad test. It could be something like the teacher speaks too fast and the students can't understand the teacher, or it could be the time of day that the class happens, or it could be that there are not enough resources for the class. All these different things can be taken into account when we think about evaluating a course or a programme. And of course, we can also evaluate a test that we've given or an assessment. So we can say, is the test or is the assessment really reflective of the student's ability? So evaluation is about the test, it's about the course, it's possibly about the teacher, but it's not so much about the student. I think that's the big difference between evaluation and testing and assessment. So evaluation is not so much about the student, but testing and assessment are.
Yes, and the test will be targeting a very specific type of information, whereas evaluation is almost the opposite of this, in that it's trying to gather as much evidence as possible from as many different sources to reach a conclusion. Thank you.